was raised to be equal to anyone. Listening to you, you are so prejudiced. I just can't believe it. I am shocked. You're scaring me.
I think we hear violence.
I'm so scared to go around the world next year because I was never a prejudiced person until I'm listening to you. It's really scary hearing what you're saying. I'm very scared.
White people fearing, what will the black folks do and stuff. We should be running down the street screaming, ramping, and raving, because when you look at the statistics, who is the one dying? From the policemen, from the KKK, from the skinheads.
What is he saying that you have a problem with? And why is it when a black man stands up to speak for his people and other people stand up to speak for their people, there's no problem with it? But you're saying he said black, he said Jew. When people talk, they talk like that. But why is it when a black man stands up to speak for his people, you feel so threatened? Everybody's paranoid. And you talk about it's not segregation. We live in Harlem. We live in Watts. We live in Bedford-Stuyvesant. That's a form of segregation. We walk through Bensonhurst. We get killed. So what are you talking about?
The young lady said she's afraid of violence. And isn't it sad that we who have been the victims of so much violence, now whites fear violence from us? We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us.
Oh my fucking God. Jesus Christ.
Peace in the name of Jesus.
You are afraid that if we ever come to power, we will do to you and your fathers what you and your people have done to us.
Oh my fucking God. Jesus Christ.
Peace in the
Mind of black people.
I was raised to be equal to anyone. Listening to you, you are so prejudiced. I just...
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known, the January 6th edition of Let It Be Known. And that video speaks for itself, but we'll get into that and so much more, Niele.
Oh, 100%. Good morning. A very important day for American history as we look at America celebrating 250 years. And you talk about how they came over here and you look at what they did 5 years ago. And then you look at how Minister Farrakhan was talking. I found that video to be very interesting from many levels. I saw a lot of white people attacking Minister Farrakhan and afraid of him. But I also saw black women defending him, and so much to unpack with that video, Stacy.
Well, I think they were defending him, yes, but I think more so defending what he was saying as far as they want to make it about them all the time, right? People who are racist, people who have racist tendencies, they want to make it about them when really you have done everything possible. You as a people have done everything possible to oppress and repress someone simply because of the color of their skin. King talked about the content of the character, and my goodness, if you just think about that, Niele, just that, if folks would look at folks simply by the content of their character, how much different would things be?
100%. And then if you just look at that video and the timing, I think that was in the early 80s.
Yeah, I remember it well.
You remember the conversations, and then you fast forward from that conversation to when we did have the opportunity to have power. When Barack Obama became president, he made America more inclusive. He didn't do exactly what those white women were, right? And then you look at the news cycle yesterday, and you look at Jake Tapper talking to Stephen Miller, right? What they were afraid of in Farrakhan, Stephen Miller, and the Trump administration is their worst nightmare, right? Just think about that. Barack Obama, the black man that they feared, was more inclusive, and he even denied Farrakhan and Jeremiah Wright from the White House.
Yeah, because of the volatility.
The White House. Donald Trump gets in the White House and he allows the Klan. Stephen Miller, Stephen Bannon, You know, and be sure that the Grand Wizard of the KKK has been to the White House. Okay,
Oh
be,
yeah,
be
there's no
clear.
question about that.
Be clear that the Klan has probably had a meeting, okay, in the Oval Office. That would not surprise me at all.
Well, we chuckle or whatever, but there could very well be a lot of truth to that. Could be spot on. We don't know for a fact, but if somebody
That's not
put a gun to your
assumption.
head, well, if somebody put a gun to your
Stephen
head and
Miller is the
said,
Klan. Stephen Miller is a part of the Klan and alt-right.
well,
He has been in
yeah,
the White House.
and to your point, what I'm trying to say is, if somebody put a gun to your head and you had to guess right, most likely you'd have to say Niele is right. You'd have to say I agree with Niele,
Stephen
because
Miller,
there's more of a
Bannon,
chance that has happened than it's not.
Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon are white supremacists. Be clear about that. They come from Bart Bright. They come from alt-right, which is an extension and the cousins of the Klan. There is no doubt about it. Those organizations are what the FBI was talking about when they said the number one threat to America is white domestic terrorists. They are affiliated, they talk to those people, and they are a part of the Klan.
Yeah, and the shame of it, really, and this is one of the many ridiculousnesses, if that's a word, of racism. Just do you, right? Leave people alone. It's that old adage about, if you don't do to someone what you don't want them to do to you. You know how the saying goes. I mean,
Right.
it's just live and let live. It's as simple
Right.
as that. But Niele is a very religious person, and so
I'm not religious. I am
well,
not
okay,
religious.
she's so in the church.
I am
She's
a
very
woman.
much
I am a woman of faith.
okay.
Because
So
I'm
there
a
you go.
woman of faith.
Okay, so okay. She's a woman of faith, so she understands what the Holy Scriptures say, right? The whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one, right?
Yeah.
And we see it.
And I think a lot of the when we look at the chat and sometimes they say you make everything about race, it's because in this country it is probably one of the core foundations of it is race and
That's right.
racism. The government is systemically designed. That's when we say systemic racism. And so when we talk about, celebrating 250 years in this country, you cannot have a celebration without talking about the discrimination, the oppression, and the racism that white people have inflicted on people of color, particularly us Black folks.
And
so
you
when
know
we
good
talk,
well.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Finish your thought, because
No, I was just going to say, as we talk about 250 years and we think about what happened on January 6th and what white people did, let's not forget that one of the things that they had when they were going to the Capitol was a noose. They had that big wooden thing with the noose hanging. So all of those people that Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, gave the pep rally for and helped like we were organizing to go to, the Million Man March, do a peaceful protest in the Capitol. We were going for civil rights, peaceful protest. Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, and their whole Klan rallied all of those people, and even Clarence Thomas's wife, because she funded some of the buses. Let's not forget about that.
Without question.
They pushed all of those people to Washington, D.C., and what happened?
And that video that Greer showed at the beginning with the storming of the Capitol that we've seen a million times over. Let's face it, like you said, it's all about race. Everything is always about race in this country, because it's as simple as this. And you know what? There's a hill to die on. If those folks were Black, if that was Black Lives Matter running up on the Capitol, machine guns and bombs would have been dropped on those people. Nobody would be pardoned. Nobody would be serving in the government. I mean, we can go on and on and on.
100%. And so, as we celebrate, and as Donald Trump wants everybody to be so concerned about the 250th anniversary of America, one of the most horrific days in America happened 5 years ago on January 6th. And so the attack on the Capitol was horrific. So today, 5 years, a handful of Democratic House members and Capitol Police officers are still seeking to use civil lawsuits to hold Donald Trump accountable for his role in the events. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has pardoned all of the convicted rioters from any wrongdoing on that horrible day. So joining us now to discuss the aftermath of January 6th is former Capitol Police officer and author of Standing My Ground. Welcome, Harry Dunn. Good morning.
Good morning, y'all. Happy New Year to you, both of you all. Glad to be with you.
Same to you. Same to you. You know, we were having the conversation of 250 years, and one of the most horrific days in those 250 years was January 6th. So before we get into the conversation, just how are you doing today?
I'm all right. You know, regarding that day, you know, I've healed from that trauma, my personal trauma from that day, and I'm healed from that. But as we look around at the things that are going on still in this country, it's hard to be okay with everything. If you're okay right now, I feel like you're kind of like a callous soul. It's hard not to feel some type of way with everything that's going on in this world. So I focus on the things that I can change or the things that I can try to affect. Why I'm still using my voice 5 years later from the day that made me known to most of this world. And I'm just keeping my head down and keeping going, doing the work, so to speak.
Yeah, you said something very interesting already. You said that you healed. And that's, you know, congratulations on that. Because I would just only imagine, and especially in your role, only 5 years later to say that you're healed is an amazing thing. But how much of those wounds were reopened a year ago or less than a year ago when the gates from the prisons and the jails were opened up, and those people who committed those heinous crimes against America, against you, against your force, how much of the wound was reopened?
Yeah. So I'm a little different than everybody else. Well, you know, I'm sure the other officers too who have been on the public face, if you will, of January 6th. We're a little different than most of America are. We've been paying attention to this since January 7th. We've been on every news thing about January 6th. I know, like I chuckle at times. People send me links or, hey, did you see this? Absolutely. Like I knew. So I am locked in on this, which is one of the reasons why I was a surrogate for Kamala Harris during the Harris-Walz campaign, because I was doing everything in my power to try to keep that man from office, because Donald Trump told us that he was going to do it. So I wasn't surprised on January 20th when he pardoned over 1,500 people who attacked the Capitol, who assaulted police officers. A criminal pardoned 1,500 other criminals to join him being free criminals out there. So I knew that it was coming. So I had time to prepare. And not only did I prepare, I tried to put in the work to keep it from happening by trying to help us elect Kamala Harris. And, you know, we all know how that turned out. So yes, the wounds were already there, but I at least had time to brace for it because, like, I knew that it was coming. Donald Trump campaigned on it. One of the things people have said also, like, why don't we move on from January 6th? Why are we still talking about it, man? History bends toward distortion when accountability is denied. So 100 years from now, and when they're reading the history books and they're reading about January 6th, and somebody said, well, what happened to him? He did this. Like, well, what happened is he was elected president again. And imagine reading that 100 years from now and saying, how the hell could something like that happen? But that's how we are. That's why I haven't moved on from it, because there has been no accountability from it. And the challenge I face now like a lot of other people, is what does accountability look like now, since the courts were the Supreme Court failed to be able to hold him accountable, or the American people failed to hold him accountable and literally rewarded him with another 4 years of running the country. So I struggle with what accountability looks like now. I'm still at it though.
Right. Unfortunately, I would like for you to take us back to 5 years ago.
Sure.
What was going on around this time, and just talk to us about what that day and some of the things that you remember that you would like to share with America to remind them.
So one of the things also, I'll definitely talk about it, but I want to say this also: you don't need a talking head on CNN or MSNBC or in the halls of Congress or even me to tell you what you saw. Everybody in America remembers what happened on January 6th. You can literally press play on the television and put it on mute. You don't need to listen to anything and just watch. You tell me you're okay with what happened. So you don't need there's Fox News is spinning it away or CNN. No, you don't know. Just press play. You don't need to hear a pundit give you play-by-play analysis of what happened on January 6th, because we all saw it with our own eyes. They were proud of what they were doing. They documented what they were doing. When the criminal cases happened in court, there was 100% conviction rate because the Justice Department just press played for the jury. These people were documenting their own crimes, which goes into what happened that day. The people in the Capitol, the people that were storming the Capitol, that were attacking police officers, felt emboldened to do so. And why did they feel emboldened? Because the most powerful person in arguably the world told them to do it. Now, I know a lot of y'all are probably like me, that if somebody tell you to do something, you're like, whatever. But if your mama tell you to do something, you're going to do it, right? Mama said, do this. I don't care what nobody else said. My mama said, do this. Like, mama said, do this. So imagine the most powerful person in the world giving you orders to do that. So when we're telling people to leave, you're not welcome to get off the Capitol, you can't be here. The president told us we could. Stopping the steal. So they had the audacity, the emboldenedness, which I think helped drive and fuel that day. What happened?
So they were telling you the president said,
yeah. Yeah. And that's why I felt so when I gave my statements about Donald Trump is responsible, because they were telling us while they were there, Donald Trump told us to be here.
There's audio along with some of those videos. I've heard that in audios, the real president, the president and stuff like that. Yeah, we've all heard it. I'm not the only one. We've all heard it. It's so true. Austin Cooper is writing in. He says, "Thank you, Harry, for showing the world courage, patriotism, and dignity."
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And look, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about it. I heard you all talking about the Black Lives Matter, if those were a bunch of Black people. I will say this: Black Lives Matter did come to the Capitol. They did come up there and protest. They did come up there and cuss us out. But you know what they did not do? They didn't storm the Capitol. They didn't storm the Capitol. They stood up there. They cussed us out to our faces. And we sat there and took it because, they're within their First Amendment right to do so. And you know what? Every single person went home that night. I can't say the same thing about January 6th. People lost their lives. Officers died. Officers took their lives in the aftermath of it. So it's total BS, when these people were emboldened and had the audacity to believe that they were right.
Yeah. Officer Dunn, you've seen what's happening now, like we all have in Venezuela. We've seen all this other stuff that's going on, bringing that president over here from Venezuela, the threats against other sovereign nations like Greenland and Cuba. The January 6th, in my estimation, laid the groundwork even for this. It laid the groundwork for the United States to ultimately have as close to, if not a dictatorship, as they ever have had before. Can you give me your thoughts on that?
Isn't this a perfect example of what I'll just say it bluntly, we should have listened to the black woman. Was she overreacting? How many articles and how many headlines read during the Harris campaign or during when we were people campaigning against Donald Trump? Democrats are overreacting. There's no going to be there are checks and balances. There's this and that. He can't do this. Democrats are overreacting. And we're sitting and be like, I told you so. And look, people are upset. People are like, this is not what I voted for. We've never seen a shift in poll numbers like this in the first year of a presidency. In the first year, it was in the first few months. Donald Trump wasn't waiting. The crazy thing about America is he told us what he was going to do. Mm-hmm. He told us this. So people are acting surprised. You weren't paying attention. And that is probably the most American thing out there. Somebody tells you what they're going to do, and then when they do it, we act shocked. Like, wait, what? So I struggle with finding grace for the people who elected this man for another opportunity to run this country. I struggle with that because on the night that he was elected, it felt like a knife through my heart. And it felt like people just didn't care that this man was responsible for one of the darkest days in American history. And it was personal to me, which is why I went so hard for stopping him, not only stopping him from getting the White House, but having the opportunity to elect Kamala Harris, because I feel she would have been brilliant, and I think the world of her. But he told us what he was going to do. And for people to be clutching their pearls now, where the hell were you when he told you that this was what he was going to do?
Right. And I really, think news cycles, attention spans are so short, and the way they are trying to rewrite American history, I think it's important to constantly remind people, of the threat that we're still under. And so even though it's 5 years later, are you still getting threats? Do you feel like your life is in jeopardy because of MAGA?
I don't feel like my life is in jeopardy, but also at the same time, I'm not naive to think that these individuals won't take measures to stop people from saying things that to destroy their brand or to push back. People don't like resistance, especially when they feel entitled to have an opinion. Nobody has an opinion because theirs is the most superior. So I'm not naive to think so. I do get hateful messages. I have gotten death threats, even in as recent as a few weeks and months ago. So it still happens, and that means I'm doing something right. I'm showing up. I'm continuing to have my face forward. So I'm taking protective measures. Obviously, like I said, I don't just, try me. Like, I feel that way in my spirit, like, come on, try me. But also I'm not naive because we've seen what these people are capable of. And we've seen them not only be forgiven and pardoned, but celebrated and rewarded for their actions on that day. So I lean on my community. I lean on the people that I believe in, and I continue to fight for those people that need fighting for.
Yeah, Officer Dunn, obviously January 6th, and we're doing it now. It's been much talked about in more ways than, as Prince would say, more ways than six. But is there something that you can think of that perhaps hasn't been talked about, but might very well be important?
Respectfully, Stacy, I've said everything ad nauseum. And it's been 5 years and I haven't pulled any punches from day one. I blame Donald Trump for this on January 7th. I blame him for it now. I ran for Congress. So, I've tried any and everything to do to hold this person accountable. And I don't know what's next, and I'm continuing. I tell people this. I do a lot of speaking around the whole country, and it's different now than actually campaigning. We're kind of like giving speeches about resiliency, and I'll try to end with this. Like, look, everybody tells you, you hear that, oh, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Just keep on, guy. You're going to be okay. I don't know if we're going to be okay. Telling somebody's going to be okay is the #1 gaslighter in the world.
Absolutely.
Because we don't know. We don't know if it's going to be okay. I do know, however, if we don't fight, if we don't continue to get up and show up, then they are going to steamroll our asses more than we've seen before. So I do know that if we show up, we give ourselves a fighting chance. And that's all I can ask for, is give ourselves a chance and show up.
Before we let you go, I want to talk about your book and let our listeners and viewers know about Standing My Ground. We know where the passion came from, but talk to us about some of the takeaways that you learned from writing that book.
So writing about that book, that was part of my healing process. It came out 2023. It's so crazy because the book is still being written, if that makes any sense now. Like the story, you could just add on and add on and add on, continually add on to. And it's so funny, when I was writing that book, like, how do I end it? Where does it end? Because it was before the election, it was before this the Jack Smith case and everything. So it was so much stuff that had yet to happen. So it's kind of like the story is still being written. I guess that's a good takeaway, is that the story can always be added to, but you cannot take away from it. So make sure that you're doing everything that you want in your story, because it's kind of a memoir, but I also obviously talk about what happened on January 6th and the process afterward, the trauma, the grief, the anger, the gauntlet of emotions that you will run going through. Well, everybody knows who I am because I lived the worst day of my life on national TV.
Yeah.
Imagine having that's your claim to fame. Everybody knows them because my worst day of my life was on national TV, and people want to talk to me about the worst day of my life. So you just have to grin and bear it, and also you create the narrative. So that's kind of what my book is about.
We love that. And thank you for taking your pain and turning it into activism.
Thank you.
We hope that we see you in the future, and we would love to have you back outside of the pain.
Let's do it. I would love to. I would love to.
All right. Peace and love.
Thank you, y'all. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Yes. Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn. Niele, we, Greer and I, about a year or so ago, was invited by Erica Lowe, who worked in the Biden White House, to the screening of a documentary about January 6th called The Sixth. And, for those, and we got a lot of, and no matter who you support, we got a lot of Trump supporters on the thread. I see you got a lot of racists on the thread as well. But that's fine. Everybody's welcome. But if you watch that film, that's the one film that takes you deep inside. It was directed and produced by Andrea Nix Fine and Sean Fine, but it takes you into before they attacked and as they are attacking. And the offices, in this case, it was Jim Clyburn's, mainly Jim Clyburn's office. And you saw these people barricade themselves in, including Erica, not knowing if they were going to live. And when the police finally got to them, they were afraid that it wasn't really the police. They were ready to die. They felt that, and Erica Lowe has a mother with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, not Parkinson's, but Alzheimer's. What's the other one? Dementia. That she takes care of. She's the sole person responsible for her mom. And she's in there wondering who's going to take care of my mom after I'm dead. I'm about to die. That was just, you think about that.
Mhm.
Folks want to talk about politics. This is more than politics. This is way bigger than politics. You have 1,500 plus people committing a violent act against the United States of America. And there
And
were people in there, real people, like Erica, like Officer Dunn, whose lives were in jeopardy.
it's a spirit that these individuals carry. I mean, look at the way that they went over to Venezuela. Look at the way Stephen Miller acted yesterday, speaking with Jake Tapper, talking about going and taking land, just taking things that don't rightfully belong to them. Donald Trump did not win the election. They wanted to go and take it. Okay. They went over to Venezuela, took the president, and took the oil back. They want to go to Greenland and just take the land. Why? Because they think they can. That's what we talk about when we talk about white supremacy, right? Those are the characteristics of it. And so when we talk about celebrating 250 years, that is a big portion of what 250 years looks like as an American. White folks doing things like that. And so white folks love to say it's not about race, but at the core is racism. And until we start peeling that back, we're going to continue to have this problem.
Yeah, yeah. If they could take, we even see it on the chat here. Like I said, you got some racist folks on that chat, and they're welcome to watch, and they have been doing that. But if you take race out of the equation, if they take race out of the equation, they'd be better off. We'd all be better off. But everything to them, the core of their beings, and I'm talking about these racist people, comes down to race. And then it's like what they expect. They expect somebody to be brutalized, to be beaten, to be robbed, to be a crime committed against. Court comes, and that victim never to speak. And this is why when we had that movement about women, they said, women finally got a voice. Guys, I don't know why it's escaping me, but it's a very popular term with the women and believe the women and all that stuff. That movement. Come on.
Oh, me too. You're talking about
me too.
Okay.
And that's why that was important, because it was forever discouraged. Women were always discouraged when they were sexually assaulted and everything else. Oh, just go in your corner and never come out. Don't go to court. Don't testify. It was a shame to testify about what happened to you. Whatever. They made it so that you could testify. That's what Me Too was supposed to be about. Believing the woman, making sure she could. Racist people don't want to hear about racism.
Yeah. So, as we celebrate, this is a day to where, you want to talk about 250 years, because they want to make it a jubilee, right? Well, they want to make it a jubilee. But I think if they're going to think that they're going to sit up here and celebrate 250 years of America, then Black folks need to give them 250 years of America and remind them what that exactly means. And for Black folks, it ain't no jubilee. Okay? It's like Langston Hughes. Life for us ain't been no crystal stair. And so when we have our Black brother on, former Officer Harry Dunn, and he defended the systemic institution. He defended and held the line. What was the other, the honorable officer that went viral for holding them up? Eugene. Brother Eugene.
He saved lives. He saved lives of Congress people.
Give it up for, the Honorable Benny Thompson, who led the January 6th commission, right? And so, we have to give Sister Cheney, Liz Cheney, they, were trying to defend democracy. So when we talk about 250 years, you cannot talk about 250 years without white folks oppressing people of color. That is the history of America.
Yeah. We did add to the stream or add to the broadcast Black Press USA a little bit later, so some may have missed the beginning. So please feel free to go back and catch what you missed. I see Dr. Marilyn is like, what did I miss? She didn't get the notification, but you can always go back and watch later. And we welcome that. But we're here every morning every weekday morning at 8 o'clock. You remember those old if you were like as old as I am back, if you remember in the 70s when a program came on it, say at 8 o'clock, it didn't really come on till like 8:05. That's us. That's how it goes, Dr. Marilyn said I will watch the replay. Thank you, Dr. Marilyn. But you have the credits roll, and you have all the stuff.
And I hate what they did to those officers, because as Officer Harry Dunn was here, you could hear the scar. That day left scars on the people who tried to defend our democracy, and they had to heal from that. And their mental health, some of them couldn't overcome and committed suicide because of white racist people in this country.
And it's amazing when you mention white and racist, automatically, even some black folks, well, Republicans, Democrats this, or Republicans that. No one's talking about Republicans and Democrats. If you happen to be a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, it's inconsequential really to what happened. It's inconsequential to somebody commit the crime. It doesn't excuse either one. Nobody's excusing either one.
And on that day, those officers defended Republicans and Democrats. They saved both lives.
And some of those officers were Republicans, and some were Democrats, and some were unattached.
They defended live. They held the line when Donald Trump, when America was watching that day unfold, and they kept telling Donald Trump to call those barbaric MFers off.
Mm-hmm.
He waited hours. Donald Trump waited hours before he decided to tell them to stand down. That is the person that is in office, and that is the person currently talking about they're going to go over to Cuba, Colombia, Greenland, Cuba. And so we are in a state of emergency. Today, we should be concerned and be in a state of emergency because the same people that called all of those people to Washington, D.C. on that cold day, called them all. Donald Trump, you saw Ivanka in the tent. You saw both of his sons. You saw Donald Trump doing his dance. He went out there. He rallied them up. Like I said, what's Clarence Thomas' wife? She got the buses.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent those people to the Capitol to attack Democrats, Republicans, and innocent bystanders.
Well, the Republican vice president, they wanted to hang. They said they wanted to execute him. So it doesn't matter, Republican or Democrat. A crime is a crime. Dr. Marilyn says they took an oath to protect and serve, which is not contingent on political party.
250 years, folks.
Yeah.
They're about 250 years. And let's just say this. Officer Dunn talked about campaigns and stuff. What's critical, y'all, is that they changed the Department of Defense, the Department of War, and they kicked off this year with war. And one of the ways that they could stop the midterm elections is by declaring war. Pay attention to the writing on the wall, y'all.
Both chambers of Congress returns this week to the Venezuela situation. A shutdown deadline again is coming up later this month, which you know what that means too, Niele. If they shut down again, you folks who are looking for income tax returns, it'll never happen. And of course, the healthcare deadline comes up again this month. I think the date is like the 22nd or whatever. They have to reach a deal to try and salvage what they can of these subsidies. If they're going to do that, it's highly unlikely. So there's a list of legislative issues that have come, including stock trading. and bans on that. You know, we there was even this thing with Venezuela President Maduro. There was an online bet just before his capture. It was an online bet by allegedly by this an oil person, a person here in the United States, a business person who bet all this money that Maduro would be removed on this day, the day he was removed.
Mhm.
So Congress is looking into that, or allegedly looking into that. Some of them may be looking into it, not as a group. But these are the things that are up today.
Well, you know, those are up today, but like I say, the 2026 midterm elections kick off today. So there are over 7 elections happening across the country. I'm talking about in Arkansas, Connecticut, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, California, Oregon, and Rhode Island. Now, most of them are state and local elections, but that is how this clan is building their political power through state houses. We just talked yesterday about Texas getting rid of the Civil Rights Division. That is being done by state legislators. So in all of these 7 states, there are elections happening on state and local levels. In California and Oregon, they're having a recall, but recalls are important too because it might take away your representation. So as we look at and talk about these things, make sure that you are paying attention to what's happening on a local level, on a state level, and of course, as we build up to the federal elections in November. And of course, there'll be some primaries in between too, but we'll keep you posted on Election Watch, Black Press USA.
The U.S. Secret Service is looking to hire and expand. They want to add about 4,000 new employees before the 2028 election. And they want to, overall, they say it's a 20% increase, but all of this comes as they say that there is more threats to the president, to members of Congress, to others who rely on such protections. And that is because of the U.S. engaging in 7 different conflicts in less than a year. That is one reason for it. So here we have the Secret Service wants more officers.
Black Monday hit hard yesterday as the unfortunate annual tradition across the NFL left coaches and GMs jobless. Now, Stephen A. Smith had an interesting take on the shakeup as it relates to Black representation. Take a look at this. Drum roll, Greer.
Oh gosh, Stephen A. Maybe she can't stomach Stephen A. like many of us can at this moment.
Well, no, I mean, Stephen A. Smith, he had a lot of interesting takeaways. Greer, are you able to get the video rolling? She must have took a bathroom break or something. Maybe we'll come back to he
in a sense, not one of them was unjustified. All of them were justified. When you think about Arizona making its changes, Cleveland making its changes, obviously in season Tennessee and New York making its changes, Las Vegas, Raiders just making its changes. You see that kind of stuff happening. Atlanta making its changes. It's unfortunate, but you can see why those decisions were made. I'd like to see who's going to get an opportunity to do it. I remember a couple of years ago, there were like 7 openings and like all 7 of the hires were white. I'd like to, there's a lot of qualified Black coaches out there, but there's a couple in particular that definitely deserve a strong look. Especially a guy like Brian Flores, who used to coach in Miami, that was suing the NFL, and hopefully that'll go away soon, but he's definitely worthy of being a head coach. I'd like to see what happens with that. I'm excited to see what Tom Brady is going to do in terms of influencing Vegas's decision about who's going to be the next head coach. Then as it pertains to the actual playoffs themselves, it's a very, very exciting season. As it pertains to Black Monday, certain coaches had to go.
I'd like to see when ESPN is going to replace him. Tell me that.
Well, basically, I think he had a very valid point about Black representation and leadership in the NFL. And say what you want to say about him, he was absolutely right. There needs to be more Black leadership within an organization where 85% of its players and its cash cows are African American people. And so I'd be interested to see, how this pans out for Black leadership within the NFL.
And Brian Flores will not get a job in the NFL at this point. So he can hang that hope up right there. You don't sue the NFL and expect to get a job, especially while the lawsuit is pending. But it's been said for years. Art Rooney of the Pittsburgh Steelers years ago talked about it in earnest, and they even created the Rooney Rule, in which they had to interview when they were job openings. They had to interview coaches of color. It's a long-standing problem that the NFL has had and continues to have, and nothing has changed. And so, yeah, a broke clock is right twice a day, and Stephen A. Smith was right in that take.
Yeah, definitely right in that take. And so I'd be interested. Some of the ones that I'm interested, he got cut from the Raiders. I just know about Pete Carroll for all of the contributions that he did here in LA when he was at USC. And he worked a lot with the gang intervention groups out here, from Unity One, Bo Taylor, Skip Townsend over at Second Hall. He used to do ride-alongs like at 2 a.m. in the morning to Watts to play, just to build community, and then I'm thinking about what happened in Cleveland. Everybody said that coach should have been gone, but what does that mean for Shedeur Sanders? And so, like Stephen A. Smith said, it's an exciting time. We just will be watching to see how leadership unfolds over there.
Tamir Chance says USA football is the worst of American values. That's a take I have not heard, but hey, I get it. Cheryl Brown says, and it will not change, which is insane. Okay, we got a lot of strong takes, I should say. Nancy Wall wants Marcus Freeman to go to Cleveland. So there you go.
All right. All right.
There's a great story published in Rolling Out, folks, about doctors prescribing antibiotics that you really don't need. They list the top 4 reasons, and the 4 reasons being the pressure to satisfy patient expectations often overrides proper medical decision making. Think about that for a moment. Number 2, doctors have limited appointment time and enormous patient loads, and so prescribing antibiotics closes appointments quickly without lengthy explanations of why they're necessary or unnecessary. Number 3, doctors fear missing serious bacterial infections, so they prescribe antibiotics to hedge against this small risk. And finally, number 4, insurance structures reward doctors for prescribing more aggressively, and antibiotic prescriptions generate pharmaceutical kickbacks and increase appointment productivity. Read more about that at rollingout.com. It's a really interesting take on why these doctors seem to be prescribing antibiotics like they are, giving out vitamins.
And Rolling Out is a member of BlackPressUSA, right?
The National Newspaper Publishers Association. Yes, it is.
So make sure you go check that out. Let's talk a little bit of church culture before we get out of here today. There's a lot going on in the church world. And I'm talking about First Lady Bryant and Pastor Jamal Bryant. This dress has taken over the internet. But as commentators continue to debate Pastor Jamal Bryant's wife's choice of attire at a recent UNCF, United Negro College Fund Gala, Pastor Bryant is preparing to host the State of the Black Church. So you thought I was going somewhere else with that. Okay, but Pastor Bryant is taking these lemons and making some lemonade, and he's preparing for the State of the Black Church, which is a national strategy gathering where faith leaders, organizers, and educating artists, policy influencers are all coming together to confront and define challenges facing the Black community today. Now, the website states that the conference is anchored in data, which data is important because we know Trump administration does not believe in data. It's grounded in theology and driven by action. So the Black church, the State of the Black Church, is kicking off on Dr. King's birthday, January 15th, and going through January 17th. I thought I would lead with this because that dress has taken over.
Who's that on his arm, Beyonce?
No, that dress, look, Greer wants to talk about the dress clearly. But before we get to the dress, you know, I think it's important that Jamal Bryant knows how to play the game. He knows how to get your attention. And yet he is still focused on the mission. Now this dress, you know, this happened back during the holiday, maybe even Christmas, and people are still talking about this woman's dress. Now Jamal Bryant addressed the situation on Sunday, and then you had another pastor who basically called her and said she looked like a $2 hoe. Now, was the $2 hoe comment going too far?
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, she walked out there and made everybody religious because not a person looked at her and didn't say, "Oh, Lord."
Dr. Marilyn says she wanted my take. Well, my take is my standard on what to wear is what Coretta Scott King wears.
Yeah, that was 60 years ago.
but hey, women was in the juke joints, sashaying all around.
But
you know
when they, as you say, the first lady of the church.
What first lady May Blake? Would she have worn that? Okay. Would Bishop G.E. Patterson's wife have worn that dress? Would the late and honorable Cecilia Bryant, Bishop Bryant, his father and mother, would she have worn that dress?
Let me ask you a question.
You are too judgmental.
How old is Jamal Bryant and his wife? Is what I want to know.
Right. I mean, come on.
These are young people, right? They going out. I thought initially when I first saw this, Greer and Niele, I thought they were saying that she was in church looking like that. They went to an event, a black tie event, a fancy event or whatever. Look, the man the other pastor said that's only for him. If that was his wife would only wear it for him at home or whatever. I mean, it looks like
$3.
$3. But
he was out of pocket. That pastor
was out of pocket. But here's the thing about church culture. What I feel like pastors and churches are getting in trouble a lot for. Because of COVID, everybody has gone to streaming. And what happens is these sound bites that are for the congregation end up being news headlines. Now, did he intentionally want to go viral? I don't know about that. But it has gone
viral. Said it
viral.
in a public space. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And it's going to be yesterday that people start having phones or things are being recorded.
But church is very old school. Okay, if you see
healthy,
that man, that pastor,
nice looking people,
I don't know.
And
yes,
listen,
but here's the thing. It's not that anything is wrong with the dress. I think she looks gorgeous in the dress. I think the dress is banging.
Right.
However, the question is it appropriate for a first lady?
Listen, the fact that the people are judging, what happened to that whole lest we be judged type thing? They were not in a formal pastoral setting. They were at an event.
If you are a pastor, you are a pastor inside and outside of the church.
No, I get all that.
So listen, and what
they can't live. They're not police.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Jamal Bryant has a podcast. He's got all types of characters on his platform. I mean, you know, black folks need to, and I'm going to say church folks need to stop. And that's something, that sort of judgment is what's turned a lot of people off from the church, because now we're policing this woman's body and how she's supposed to look. Listen, these are adults, they're husband and wife, they have sex, you know, I mean, just like everybody else. and he spoke about it. And I just think like we need to like stop with it. That old school pastor who made those comments, he was completely out of pocket. And if I were a man, I would have to.
Oh
see
my
him.
God, I would step to him. What he said.
Yeah, straight up, you call my wife a two-color whore. You know, was it appropriate for him to make those comments in the pulpit?
I mean, a pastor in a pulpit on a Sunday, your heart would be broken then, okay?
But does that give them a right, Niele? Does that give them a right to say whatever they want to say?
Church culture is church culture. I'm
asking you. I don't know it.
I'm not going to go into somebody because whatever that congregation is accepting, that's their faith, and that's how they roll. That's how that church roll. It might not have been able, and I'm not defending the pastor, and I'm just saying that my question is there a standard or for pastors? You know, people look for pastors and their leaders within their church to have a certain level of dignity and morality. I'm not saying that anything they did wrong, but I'm just saying in church culture, there is a higher level of expectation. Like let's go to the classroom, you know, with students. You know, remember Teacher Bay, you know, and there was a conversation about her attire.
In the classroom. This is what I'm saying.
But I'm just saying church, it's church though. I'm saying church, it's still a setting. It's still an organized setting. And so if the congregation over at New Birth has no problem with how their first lady is dressing, fine. But Bishop Jamal, I keep calling him Bishop, and he has told me several times he is not a bishop. He is a pastor. Pastor Brian. If that's how, and you know, let me just say, I thought about this too, because he is a Catholic. You know, he is a new. And they like to have nice things on that they are. And he said he picked the dress. So it's fine. But I think that the issue is some people hold their pastor and churches at a higher level of accountability than they do the lady. And I think that's where the discrepancy comes in.
Well, the thing about it is, it just seems to me that you know, you can't. Once again, I'm not going to look to another man to reinforce my faith or to take away from my faith. You know, those who love God's law cannot be stumbled. So that's what the scriptures say. So if they want to go outside of that, that's on them.
Melva said church leadership are held to a higher standard. She also said people that condone this really do not know the Bible. Dr. Marilyn said, yes, I've met him several times. He has always been this way. He is flashy. This is a representation.
Let me say,
you get
the mother
this.
of the church, the clothes that she typically wears, she's dressed from her neck to cover from her neck to the bottom, you know, to the bottom of her feet. She's always wearing these big old dresses and all this kind of thing, and she looks nice in them. You know, I just find it really horrible that people.
James Duck, okay. Wait, stay there, Greer. James Duckworth says too sexual.
But James believes that it happened in church. He said in his earlier comment, and it did not happen in the church. This was at the mayor's ball. So maybe James needs some more contact.
David Youngblood said, come on, folks. She looks like she's inviting us to look. Lee says streetwalker vibes. I don't think
the dress doesn't give me that. No,
you know, but to wear, I think what's throwing everybody off is the flesh tone. Even though it's a flesh tone sheer, it's still the illusion. Like as a first lady, why? I think that's what everybody's trying to figure out.
Yeah, I you know, again, the other guy, pastor who made that $2 horror comment is just out of pocket. And again, you say that everything goes when it comes to the pastor in the pulpit. I get it, but shouldn't he? Well,
he definitely owes Pastor Bryant an apology.
Because it seems like he should have spoken to him first alone.
No, I mean, because trust me, that comment or that dress was probably talked about, was definitely talked about in more than just his church on Sunday. What
No, I
happened
get
is
it.
he got the viral moment.
Mhm.
And that's what pastors now are going to be more cautious about. I mean, remember what happened to Marvin Sapp in the offering, Bishop Winans with the offering. You know what I'm saying? Things that are done within the setting of churches that are going viral, and context matters, and church culture has to be factored into all of this.
You don't think they want to go viral? You don't think it's intentional?
I don't know about that pastor. No, not
Okay.
necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. His intent. You could look at his age. Now, if he was a younger pastor, for sure. But you could look at him, and he probably doesn't even know what hit him.
So David Youngblood says it does not matter where she's going. She's the pastor's wife. That's not a call to prayers. Again, you mentioned about church culture. I don't understand it, so I can't really speak to it. As I said, you and I talked about this. I know my grandmother, that was her thing, and she probably would feel the same way you feel. But
No,
my
I
thing
am
is
just playing devil's advocate.
no,
as
right,
a
right.
journalist.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, and you're right, you were playing devil's advocate. I'm gonna make clear that that's true. But again, the way that it seems like the right way to look at things is not to allow someone else, I don't care what title they have, to determine and dictate your faith. If you believe in a higher power, if you believe in God, and you have a relationship with God, that pastor is he's supposed to be used, quote unquote, used by God to bring God's message or help you understand God's message, because God's message is in the church, right? It's the Bible. That's God's word. So he's a human. He's just another human being. And if anybody is looking for a human to be perfect, I don't care what belief you have, what religion you're in. If you're looking for someone to be perfect, then you're gonna fail every time.
I mean, I think this goes beyond what that, Stacy. This is just more about, she is a representation of not just her husband and the church, but she's also something that the little girls look up into that church, and a representation for the women in that church. And so, it goes beyond that. That's what I'm saying. It's church culture. And that's something, if you've been raised in the church, you understand, you get. And so I think that is the challenge that the church, it's the evolution of the church. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things that, you struggle with, old school versus new school. Like I say, I think she looked fabulous in the church. Oh, here we go. We want to hear this, Greer? Are we trying to hear this?
No, I think she's just
I was just wanting to show you, like, he talked about his wife. He got a different type of wife.
Okay, she's not wearing that dress.
She ain't wearing that dress. That's not her.
And I don't think nobody wants to see her in that dress either.
See, that's real, because if she were to put her hair up and they get her a girdle and snatch her up, she'd look great. Okay.
But Dr. Marilyn's, again, she's making this point about Jamal Bryant. She says, look at his first wife. She is drop dead gorgeous, and she was the first lady when she was at Empowerment Temple.
And she actually wore a dress similar to that. They put the picture up with her and Pastor Bryant when she was married to him. He bought her a dress like that too, apparently.
She said nobody's looking at the bishop's wife. She's frumpy. What?
You'd be surprised what a little glam team could do, Dr. Marilyn. Okay, they can shape her up. But she's not doing that. That's what I'm saying. It's different,
Homeboy needs to sit down and shut up. He got an old lady now.
That's what I'm
Just sit it down. Let them live their life. You done did yours. Give us some pictures of her and him 20, 30 years ago. You might find the same thing.
But here's the thing. Do you really think that he was like, oh, I'm going to use this as a viral moment? Put that picture back up, Greer. Does he look like he even knows what a viral moment is? Come on, y'all. Somebody in the church put that out there. And that is the bigger conversation that I'm talking about.
Like Della Reese.
But that's the bigger conversation about what's happening with churches now. Church business is on the internet. Church business is on YouTube, which is open for anybody to go and make you viral. So pastors, beware. That's a whole nother lesson.
This is a young, healthy, probably very sexually active couple enjoying life. and enjoying the fruits of their labor. He said he picked the dress out.
100%. I agree with that.
He picked the dress out. Listen, I've seen dresses I picked out for my wife, and that dress right there, I would absolutely.
But you're not a pastor.
Put my wife in that dress.
But you're not a pastor, so the two different
I'm still a child of God.
But
we all are, right?
But you're not in a leadership role. You know, that's, you know, but you're not in that leadership
I have been in a leadership role in my organization.
In the church, there are certain, it's just the culture of the way of the Black church. Okay.
Yeah, but then here we're suggesting that a leader could not be beautiful and provocative.
No. So you're saying that she couldn't be provocative and beautiful in a more conservative style?
She is every Sunday.
Right.
This time they were going to a mayor's ball and she was dressing elegantly. And that's all I'm saying.
So you have to. Here's the thing. I think everybody has the issue with the flesh tones. It's the flesh tones. If that dress would have been black, if that dress would have been all black, it wouldn't have been no problem. It is the illusion. Why would you want to give the illusion of flesh? Why?
Let me tell you something. So again, and you're right.
All, I will say that it's very sexual. Okay, the illusion of flesh is sexual.
Okay, well, I will say this, and you're right. You're 100% right. I'm not in the church culture. I'm not in the church leadership or nothing like that. But my wife will wear certain things when we go worship, right? And Bible study and all of that. She no question. But if we want to go hang out, she gonna wear something that, you know, totally different than what she would wear to Bible study. And I'm all for it, because I just think she's, you know, like Jamal. Jamal's thinking his wife is young and hot. I think my wife is young and hot, and I'm happy to be on her arm. And if anybody don't like it, they can go ahead and take a walk with it. But I tell you what, that guy who talk about $2 whore, me and him, we're gonna see each other.
And see that is the difference between a pastor.
I feel some way about him dyeing his hair there. Now, how about that?
But that's the difference, Stacy, between a pastor and a layman. You're a layman. So everything
that's what you say. I don't feel like I'm a layman, but
in church culture,
you're lame, Stacy. You're lame.
Not lame.
He's lame. I'm calling him lame. He's a lame.
She's calling me lame, yeah. She said lame.
She's calling
you know what you're
saying.
Layman. Right.
You're a layman, and you know, and in church culture, you know, layman is just, you know, a parishioner. He's a pastor. She's a first lady.
I get it.
And you know, they're just, you know, favor ain't fair in certain.
James Duckworth said he wouldn't be able to focus on the word, but again, she is at a ball dancing and all that stuff. Nothing to do with church.
But no. Let's be very clear. No. Let's be very clear. When they went to that gala, they went as Pastor Jamal Bryant and First Lady Bryant. That's who they went to that event representing. They went to that representing First Lady, Pastor, and New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. Let's be clear. So it doesn't matter that they were outside of the church. They were representing the church.
Okay.
He wasn't there as Jamal Bryant, the noob.
Okay.
J5. He wasn't there as that. He was there as pastor.
Okay.
Jamal Bryant.
Okay. I got you. It's a great debate that and everybody's got their thought. David Youngblood is just not for it. You know, he's like, no, she shouldn't be wearing that. James is like, no, she shouldn't be wearing that.
Somebody said, Melva said, if you're a Christian all the time, okay?
And it's true, but listen, I was just reading a passage where Isaiah was totally naked, is what they said. He was laying in the street naked. So listen, there's a lot you can go on. There's a lot you know.
But well, okay, but wait, Stacy, you just can't be like Isaiah was naked. What is the context of him being naked? See, that's where people get the word confused. I need context.
No. So what I'm saying is, I get what you're right. There is context. It's not about. It wasn't nothing to do with sex or anything like that or being sexual. But many people will say something like that. They'll say because you see what RNG said. The good book says come as you are, right? This is what he said, right? Now there's context to that, right? See, but people will say things and just as much as you know, this pastor has to think about these things. Everybody has things they got to think about. It's not about. So all I'm saying for me, I know I'm probably in the minority, but for me, it's not about the pastor. It's not about the elder. It's about the one I'm worshiping and what he sees. Now we all gonna fall short of that. We all are going to, and we're imperfect. Jamal Bryant is as imperfect as you and me. He has no special, you know, this or that when it comes to knowledge. We all are able to obtain that knowledge through accurate study. Right? Accurate knowledge from accurate study. We don't need Jamal Bryant for that, but Jamal Bryant has been put in a place where he leads. So he's human and they're young. And I don't want to keep repeating it. You know how I feel about it by now.
Well, we know how the chat feels about it.
And we know how the chat
it's an equal 50-50. And so let's continue. We'll bring you more about the state of the Black church in the coming weeks. But we have one more church story for you since we're talking about faith. Donnie McClurkin, y'all. Donnie McClurkin is facing sexual assault and battery claims. Now, a new lawsuit alleges McClurkin sexually abused a young congregant over the course of nearly a decade. Now, the civil complaint was filed January 2nd by a man named Giuseppe Corletto. Now, this Giuseppe actually worked for Donnie McClurkin, and so it sounds like they had a relationship. And as you know, from Donnie McClurkin, you see what's happening with Will Smith. You see what's happening with Tyler Perry. You know, these men are coming out, and I mean, it's making its rounds. What are your thoughts, Stacy?
It's no surprise. You said these men are coming out alleging these things. It's no surprise because when we've seen so many people reach a stand. You mentioned Will Smith, Tyler Perry. When they reach certain standards, in a lot of cases, not all, it becomes anything goes. I've even heard some describe as, oh, they done had everything under the sun. So now what else is there? So they start trying, you know, same sex and others, right? It's no surprise.
Nancy Wall asks, is this new? Yes. This gentleman, Giuseppe, just filed this lawsuit on January 2nd.
Yeah.
So this is new. Donnie McClurkin has come out with a statement saying that, you know, his allegations are not true. He didn't deny the relationship though. But
it could have been that, right?
Right.
Could have been that. It's like you mentioned Will Smith's thing. Did the guy say that? Did he allege that Will assaulted him, or was it just a relationship?
He filed a lawsuit claiming sexual harassment and assault. And so, you know, I just find it hard to believe. I don't know if I believe all of it.
Yeah, I don't. You know, again, not to say anybody is innocent or guilty. You got to hear the facts, right? And when it comes to celebrities in particular, I think we have the tendency, when I say we, I'm talking about people in general, have the tendency to jump to the side of the celebrity that you don't know personally, right? And just because they've entertained us and did all this stuff and was an integral part of our lives from, you know, whatever medium that they use. But I don't hesitate to say that celebrity cannot have done this or wouldn't have done that. I think there's just about nothing that they wouldn't try at least once or do. And many of them get to the point of being so powerful that if you say no, that becomes more than a challenge. It becomes an insult. And now I got to conquer that. So I'm not ready to dismiss them, but
I'm not
at the same
dismissing
time,
them, but
there's a lot of false claims out there. Let's face it. There's a lot of false claims out there.
right, and like the you talk about this. It seems like a trend now, like since it started with Tyler Perry, right? So Tyler Perry is on his second lawsuit with two actors, grown men who worked on certain projects with Tyler Perry. Maybe Tyler Perry was messing around with them. Maybe they thought they were going to get more than what they anticipated. And now they find a way to try to get money. To me, that's what it is. I find it interesting. I don't want to bring race into it, but it's two Latino brothers. And then you hear all these headlines about Tyler Perry making Black people millionaires, right? That's the one of the top three headlines about Tyler Perry is that Black actors are talking about how Tyler Perry pays well, how Tyler Perry has made millionaires for Black folks. So, I mean, there's a lot of, things to consider, in those conversations. Will Smith, another one. A lot of times people think they should get more than what they got out of a relationship. And when that happens, especially in the culture we're in and how people could just throw stuff out there and it happens, sometimes you can be a victim or you could be the problem.
And like Lauren said, Lauren Burke mentioned this, and it's so true. We see these lawsuits and people, this is why you can't read too much into them. Lauren says that everything that is in a lawsuit is shielded from defamation. So if you file a lawsuit and allege this, you can't be sued for defamation, even though you lying. And she gives a great example with the Jay-Z situation and Tony Busby. That was totally disproven. And the way the court's supposed to work, right, is that you're supposed to prove my guilt. The onus should not be on me to prove my innocence, is the way the court's supposed to work. That's what the law says, but we don't never go by that and we never hear that. And so the 2 points that Lauren bring out is something that I think you have to consider, the Jay-Z, Tony Busby thing, and what she said about everything. When you file a lawsuit, whatever you put in there, you could say whatever. Right. You can't be sued for that.
I mean, that's a great point. I didn't know that. And so once again, that just helps my theory,
Like, thank you, Lauren Burke and Black Virginia News. And she's right too. The media does make a lot of money off the stories. Lawyers make money off the legal action. Everyone makes money other than the defendant.
Dummies.
What?
Now, because guess what? Now nobody's gonna work with you because they're gonna be like, are you gonna sue me? So now you done messed up your career.
Yes.
Within the industry, you're out of money because you got to pay the attorney because you didn't win. And I mean, what do you get? A bag of rocks.
Go kick rocks. Listen, Niele, here's something for you that you kind of like, but then of course it'll fall a little flat and I say that because San Francisco the officials there have taken a formal step now toward potential reparations for Black residents by approving a measure that creates a dedicated fund for financial repair. And the Mayor Lori did sign it and said the city, but here's where it falls flat. The city's current financial outlook prevents it from committing public dollars to the effort. And just so people will know, the package that they agreed upon that the mayor signed the other day in San Francisco, it provided a lot of funding. In fact, lump sum payments of $5 million to each qualifying Black adult, guaranteed annual income of $97,000, a down payment assistance, tax and debt relief, and affordable housing options such as homes for just $1, also providing financial counseling for free, and a commitment to Black banks It was the one. It is one of the most ambitious reparations plans ever unveiled in the country and signed, but signed with the note from the mayor that unfortunately the city can't pay it. It's like writing a check that's, you know, outdated.
Sounds like he's been talking to Newsom. You know, Newsom is good. Newsom is good at, you know, I did it, but you know, I want to do it. I want to do it, you know, or we just need one more study before we can actually give out those dividends.
Gosh.
And so, but the most important thing is that the conversation of reparations continues.
Yeah.
And that is critical because, you know, as all of everything we're talking about going around us, Black folks are still on the job. And I love it. And so maybe we need to get somebody from the California Reparations Task Force or our guy from the Reparations Coalition to come on and get their thoughts about this because they're the ones that are really doing the work and keeping this conversation going.
Patricia Jackson, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Performative. It's all performative. But you know, the thing is, San Francisco worked long and hard on that. They did all the study that, you know, it's like the state of California with Newsom, right? They did the study. Newsom said go back and do another study. but
pretty much.
But San Francisco, the mayor was like, I got another way of tackling this. I'm gonna sign it, but I'm also going to put the footnote in there. We don't have the money.
We don't have no money. But and think about this. The mayor of San Francisco, he comes from tech. So he actually could raise the money if he wanted to, because he's part of the billionaires club, right? He's the one, he beat out London Breed, Black woman. But he came with all the tech money. He comes from the tech industry. So if he really wanted to do it, he could be savvy enough to create a venture capitalist fund, you know, get some of his tech buddies and start making the money to start giving out some of these dividends. So San Francisco, don't let him play you. Okay. Yeah. If he wanted to find the money, he could get it from private equity. Okay.
And you know, he specifically in his news conference spelled out the redlining, the intentional displacement of Black residents in San Francisco, and a whole lot of other things. The education, the lack of, how they strip Black folks of education opportunities, even employment opportunities. He's really stood there and spelled it all out.
I bet he did.
Only to say,
I bet he did. While he goes to eat his lobster, his surf and turf, you know.
Oh, they stay warm and well fed.
Right. Okay, that's James, right? Faith without action is dead. Somebody go tell the mayor that. Tell him the word for the week is if he can find it in James. Faith without work is dead. Okay. Get out of here with that. No, but last but not least, the Congressional Black Caucus is looking for a few young leaders. So if this is your children, your grandchildren, the CBCF Leadership Institute is accepting applications for summer 2026 congressional and pathways to the C-suite internship program. So the opportunity is open to college sophomores, juniors, seniors, and recent graduates. The deadline is March 27th, and you can find out more information at cbcf.org. And the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation is the one that puts on the Congressional Black Caucus conference each year that's held in September. And so they show you the work that they're doing with young, gifted and Black young folks from all across the country. So if you have a child or family member that is in college and they have a love and thirst for civic engagement or politics, or, you know, pop culture, maybe even, you know, take that on up to Capitol Hill and help us create some of our new leaders. So for more information, that's cbcf.org.
There it is. The summer internship. Some Black facts before we get out. On this date in 1820, the first organized immigration to Africa began when 86 free African Americans left New York Harbor aboard the Mayflower of Liberia. They are they were, I should say, bound for the British colony of Sierra Leone, which welcomed free African Americans and fugitive slaves. So that's what happened back in 1820 on this day.
Now, you know what's so ironic about this story, this history fact, is that over the holiday on Tubi, there's a movie about the first settlers, and it stars Vivica Fox. So I'll get the name of it and give it to you guys, but it was pretty interesting because the movie dealt with colorism and how the Black Americans came back to Liberia and they tried to colonize the Africans.
Oh.
And so there was this class system of how the American, the people that came back over on the boat didn't want their kids to fall in love with the actual Africans. And so, and it was a generational thing. So it was from the present and it moved back, but it was just about this, Stacy. I'm gonna have to go back and finish the
That's
ending.
very true. That's what happened. I always reference Liberia when I think about Black folks going back. You know, I'm saying home in air quotes because what we tend to do, right? This is, I think this is a cultural thing, right? I mean, hell, I say it's the same as the conversation about the lady with the black. We take that white supremacy stuff, and and we carry it around the world.
They sure did take it back to Liberia. They sure did. The clothing and everything. They took it all back.
The attitude, mindset, all of it.
And then they didn't want to mingle or co-mingle with the actual native Liberians. And of course, the main Black master, he wanted the native girls and the white. It was the mixing and the mingling, and it went on from generation to present. Really good movie. I'm gonna look for the name of it and give it to you guys. It's on Tubi, and Vivica Fox plays in it if you want to check it out.
Folks, remember to subscribe to the Let It Be Known YouTube page and the Let It Be Known Facebook page so that you can get notifications, and Dr. Marilyn can't miss us at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Right. And you definitely want to tap in tomorrow morning too, because tomorrow marks the 1-year anniversary of the California fires. And so we'll actually be checking in live from Altadena with Tavis Smiley's radio station, KBLA Let It Be Known. They're doing a 3-hour marathon to talk about where Black folks, because as you know, the fires impacted the Palisades, but it also impacted Altadena, which is a Black community here right outside of Pasadena. And it was total devastation. So they'll be checking in there with us live to give us the status of a year later. And we'll also be checking in with Dr. Melina Abdullah, who Black Lives Matter Grassroots made a lot of contributions to the families of Altadena. And she wrote a scathing article called I Used to Love Her, about Mayor Karen Bass. And so she's going to talk to us about why she decided to write that op-ed. Yeah, she calls it I Used to Love Her. So she's going to tell us about that tomorrow. So tomorrow, another juicy show for you. We coming in hot at the top of the year, y'all.
Coming in hot like fire. Thanks for watching, folks. We appreciate you. And again, subscribe to the Let It Be Known YouTube page and Facebook, and we'll see you tomorrow.